Hello there, dear viewers. This is the second part of David Adkins' interview. I've been finding that people are not watching the whole of these interviews when they're too long. So what I've decided to do is to split the longer ones up into two parts so that people can come back refreshed and watch the second part of it. And this is a very, very interesting guy. I found his interviews fascinating. This is David Adkins. So David is someone who's got really far in the industry compared to a lot of other indie authors. He's working on movies as well now, and he's been involved in his own movies, which is a brilliant thing. I just need to let him speak, I think.
At corners. Um, in books, you can tell the authors that run out of time versus the ones who are free to do and write what they want. Um, if it's rushed, the readers can tell it, and so yeah, I totally believe that, and I've got experience with that. So just to let you know.
So he's making a very good point here about rushing books. I mean, I felt that I sort of put myself under a bit of pressure with the last one, pushing myself to get finished on Maria's photograph because I had a certain deadline which I set myself. Very dangerous thing to do. Let's go on to the next question. But I do have to say I was very happy with the outcome of that, and I did get a 5-star review within a few days, hoping for some more. The next question David was asked is, which book are you best known for?
Um, and I think it's interesting. What book am I most known for? Um, that's hard because I've got fans of all of them. I've got fans of And We Were Gods to the extreme. They love that book. It's my biggest book. It is the longest one that took me the longest to write. Um, it's a absolute spin on all history and mythology the way anybody's ever imagined it, and it makes the most sense. Um, and I just don't know what to say because I mean I could pitch you the idea, but I saw Percy Jackson, I saw all the movies and all the books from before where they took mythology and tried to make it nowadays, and I was like, that doesn't work. Um, the whole Neil Gaiman thing again didn't. There's a lot of people that love the book, they do, and I have to admit the characters is the only thing that makes the book for me. Um, that's it. The plot itself, I see too many holes. And me being highly autistic, and I'm considered a high functioning autistic because I can't see certain things the way that normal people do.
Wow, so I didn't know this until just listening to it just now. That's total respect. David has autism and he sees things in a different way from other people. Now I've a lot of experience with people with autism in different ways because I had a friend when I was growing up who has autism and he will never be able to live independently, stuff like that. But he can tell you lots and lots of stuff, but can't do the basic day-to-day things. And so, whereas I say David is a higher end of the spectrum, so obviously not got those problems, but he sees the world differently to how others do, and that's somewhat of an advantage in some ways. I believe is using it to his advantage for his writing, and that's really cool.
Um, that's one of the reasons why I can't do biology. I see it as myth and magic and science fiction. The way that oxygen is supposed to go through this, the bloodstream and this, that, and the other, and then turn into carbon dioxide, it just doesn't make sense to me. Above and beyond that, with the growth factor and cell division and all this other stuff. And trust me, I'm highly intelligent because of the autism, but it limits me on certain jokes, certain social areas, and people trying to understand me can't. And so it really plays a high part in just normal functionality as a human.
This is again something I can relate to knowing people with autism is that again very highly intelligent but can be very awkward in social situations like David is saying. And for an example is that one person who my brother-in-law used to live with before he came to live with us is that this guy used to be able to read stories out from memory. He just used to walk around reading them out loud, and he could remember all of that, but didn't know how to use a bank account and thought someone had taken a CD player out of his bank account. But we're not going to go into that. That's private stuff. So it's just interesting the way that David explains it.
I am very, very, very factual, but I write science fiction because I see human interaction and human instances as factual. I don't see them as multiple choice in a lot of cases. That's why people that know me personally are astounded as to why I can tell them about their entire past without knowing about it, because they have telltale signs. Mentalists do the exact same thing that I do. Psychologists do the same thing I do. It's just that being autistic, I don't have the freedom to think like they do. They can sort of crack down on certain things to where, the decision making and the freedom to believe certain things is no longer available. Me, they're just not there to begin with. So, with that being the case, it's like driving a car um, in life. I literally see the entire point from A to B. I don't see any deviation of the course. Um, and in most people's lives, they see choices that can be made, and they see options to be made. And me, I don't. It's very, very linear. Music is very linear. Math is very linear. Everything is very, very linear. I don't see options. I just don't. It's this, and that's the only way that it is. And it makes communication very, very difficult for anybody who's autistic or knows people that are autistic. It's very, very difficult for us to try and imagine certain things, or try and communicate the way we feel or see things. It just doesn't work that way. But that being said, um, my favorite author would have to be C.S. Lewis. He was very, very, very linear, and he was highly detailed in his work.
Now, I have to say that I loved the Chronicles of Narnia as a kid, and I read all of the books apart from I think one, and I loved it. But I know that there are people nowadays who see things in it that people didn't so much see in those days of like religion and racism and stuff like that. But it's set in that time. I think it wouldn't have been written today the way it was. But David has a really good point about how linear it was. I remember that specifically. Having read it back as a teenager, it was very much straight to the point about everything in it, and that's what David's saying here.
He could see from both sides of the spectrum in the way I see things, from a realistic and a sci-fi type scenario, and he found a good way to merge the two. Um, Tolkien, I'm not. I like Tolkien. I do. I am a big fan, but he's highly too descriptive. There's points that could be ignored. There's a whole chapter on a crack in the wall, and I'm sitting here going, "Why? What point is there to the book?" And yeah, there's a lot of things with Tolkien. I'm like, there was no need for it.
In a past review I did of Paul Lavender's Tales from Ashen Falls, I quoted my experiences with Tolkien, which were falling asleep during Lord of the Rings. But as he says again, great writer, very over the top, shall we say. I hadn't read his stuff, but you can tell that he's very over the top from the film.
But needless to say, Tolkien is highly imaginative. His mind just goes off the charts. Um, but C.S. Lewis was nailed down stuff. I felt like there's a lot of books C.S. Lewis wrote that should have and could have been more expounded, more history, more character development, way more options available to describe things and to uh, sort of build things out. But he didn't. and I have to give him a very much a lot of kudos for that. And if that's the way people think in certain ways of him, then that's fine. Of his restriction of the way he described things.
Now, this is a very interesting subject again about C.S. Lewis. I've read that the reasoning behind him not being so descriptive is so that he would let the reader use their own imaginations to see what his world was like, and the idea of having not so much of a description of the four main characters was so that the reader could imagine themselves in the body of one of those four children. So in that way, it's perfectly calculated, and he's a genius. Was a genius, sorry. The next question: which book are you best known for, David?
But to me, he was very, very centristic. He centered in on the core of what he wanted to say, and he did it.
Okay, stop again. The manager of 5 restaurants. That is just amazing. I can't even manage my own life, let alone 5 restaurants.
That was it. Um, and the book I'm best known for, I probably would have to be Sons of Solstar. Nominated for 2 awards, has 3 books in the series, and people got addicted to the characters. So yeah, that's probably it. Now, there are a lot of favorite things I love to eat and drink, being manager of 5 restaurants.
I honestly think it's the red hair. I mean, you can see the red hair coming a mile off, I suppose, but I used to get recognised a lot for my curly hair. It's hidden under the hat here. But I used to get old women come up to me in the street and go, "You're that little boy with curly hair. I want some of it." And yeah, and even into my adult life, I get recognised as, "Oh, that curly bloke." But also, obviously, you're being recognised for being an author, which I'm not so much.
But when it comes to food or drink or anything when I'm writing, I ignore it. I get developed into the book, I'm gone. I ignore time, I ignore food, I ignore drink, I ignore everything else. I'm just there. And if somebody doesn't remind me to eat, I won't. If somebody doesn't remind me to drink, I won't. If somebody doesn't remind me that I possibly need to move around a little because my legs are falling asleep, I probably won't. That's just the way it is. I've been known to write 10,000 plus words in one sitting. So, yeah, that's just the way I am. Now, do I get recognized? That is very, very known across my social media pages. I've been stopped at Walmart. I had an entire discussion in Taco Bell. It seems like getting and selling books at restaurants is a thing for me. Can't help it. But that being the case, yeah, I get recognized quite often.
That's a good one. I can tell from your personality that she does, and I know that I'm in the same situation to that, so I empathise with you.
I'm a public speaker at a lot of conventions, over 150 over a decade of me writing and doing all this other stuff, and being a public speaker at colleges and all the sorts, things that just happen. They recognize me. That's just the way it goes. The current one that I, I am working on, and I will say this much, is a struggle, because it's a genre that I am not fully immersed in. I love Jeffrey Deaver. I love Jim Butcher and all these other stuff, but you can't really call those crime dramas. They're thrillers in certain aspects, and they're sci-fi in Jim Butcher's case, but they're not really, crime dramas. Black and Blood, uh, Blood in Your Honor, is a new twist on any type of serial killer you're ever going to come across. And the struggle that I find of not just time management and trying to schedule everything to make it fit is difficult at best. Um, And I will say this much also: when it comes to indie authors, a lot of us don't know how to market. They just don't. They're not used to marketing to anything. They're used to just being behind a keyboard, fanfic, blogger, vlogger, whatever way you want to call it. They just tell a story, and they don't really try and brag about what they do or who they are or anything else for that matter. So they don't really find options to do anything to talk about themselves, or ways to talk about themselves, or ways online to market their books, or finding um, anybody or everybody to help market their books or what they do. That's just the way it is. And the best thing I can tell anybody is get a coach. Um, that's just it. And there are community colleges out there that give you free business seminars, free business marketing tips, free business help in general. That's just the way it goes. And I've been in 2 college newsletters because of it. I will say this much: I got help before I did any of this, and I've owned 2 businesses, so that helps. But most authors ain't business owners, so they can't really go that route. Um, but yeah, is there any book from any indie author that I buy? A ton. Just saying. Brian K. Morris is one I bought the most from. I believe him or John Hartness. And John Hartness is a big name. If you don't know, you need to look him up. Me and him are really good friends. I've been to multiple conventions as a guest with him. Um, it's one of those things that he's been to Dragon Con and all this other stuff as a guest speaker. He'd be one person to talk to about marketing, how to get your books out there. If you want to, make money writing and this, that, and the other, he's one to talk to. Now, that being the case, Brian K. Morse is another one you can talk to. Rob Anderson, another one you can talk to. They're all on social media, and Facebook is the main outlet for a lot of these because you can make your own page, and there's page after page after page of places to help indie authors. And it's one of those things that, yeah, you need to get that type of help out there. Is there anybody I would like to thank, though? uh, my wife puts up with a lot, so I have to thank her. There's no way around that one. I've got friends and fans across the board that have helped me immensely to keep going. If it wasn't for my fans and friends, I wouldn't. I mean, I would be writing and for a blog or a daggone fanfic and just leave it at that. But they keep me going. They keep me published. They keep me public speaking and everything else. So yeah, it's always about the fans. That's the way I look at it. And I've got quite a few. Just saying. But if you want to know who I am, anything else, just look me up on davidadkins-author.com, or go to my page on Facebook at David Adkins Author with a D. And you can find me anywhere there. All right. But yeah, I think that's about all the questions. And I'd like to, again, thank Samuel White for this interview. And if you've got any questions, leave comments, come to, private message me on Facebook, whatever. I mean, seriously. I've helped, and I'm coaching 2 people right now. So under those circumstances, yes, one of them I'm coaching is in acting. But yeah, I coach for actors, and I coach for writers, and I coach for business owners, and quite a bit more. My agent and a few other ones want me to coach for business, and I'm not big on that, actually. I do know a lot about it, but coaching in business aspects, I'll do it for writers and maybe actors. That'd be about it. But that's still writing coaching and author coaching. That's just it. I'm not going to do much of anything else. All right. But you guys take care. Have a great one. And I'm glad to show you what I do technically. All right. Have a good one, guys.
Well, thank you, David, again for taking part in this, and I really hope that people have found this as interesting as I found it. It's incredible the amount of work this guy does and how he gets over his, shall we say, disabilities or different abilities, I would say. And if you're still here, subscribe down there or watch one of the other videos which is about to come up on your screen. Thank you very much again for watching. Please note that everything that has been said will be down. Everything that's been mentioned, social media and stuff like that, and websites and as many books as I can get will all be down here in the title. Hopefully you've already noticed that. And well, thank you to my 1 or 2 viewers for continuing to support me and the authors that I've been working with. And currently there are no more interviews to do apart from one which is going to be done live. I'm hoping to get some more authors to sort of push them along and get some more, because a lot of people said they wanted to do the interviews and then a few have sort of not got back to me. I'm pretty sure that there will be plenty more soon once they've been pushed along a little bit. Thank you again for watching and have a great evening, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are. Goodbye.